Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Carla. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you right now?
I'm in my brother's house, so I had this virtual desk, this virtual office.
Awesome. That's fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. We are here today with Carla Janette, and I am so excited about this conversation. Carla is a dear friend of mine. And from the moment I met her, I was so drawn to her embodiment, her presence, her voice, her music, and her song. And I'm really honored to share her with you today and really to explore this massive identity shift that comes along with birth and motherhood, which we've been talking about all along during this immersion. And Carla has so much wisdom to share with us today. So I would love, Carla, to start with you just telling us a little bit about how you got to where you are and why you do what you do.
Ooh. This is a lot. This is a movie, a long story, but I'll try to
Perfect.
condense it. Um, so yeah, I'm someone that grew up in a home with a lot of trauma. I grew up, my parents divorced, and then my mom remarried, and in that new marriage, she ended up like drinking more, gambling, and eventually, from that experience, a lot of domestic violence and just fighting and scarcity in the home kind of like arose. And that's really when my healing journey began. It was because of that intense period of my life that I started to leave the house and look outward for healing, for connection, for tribe. And that's also like when my journey began with medicines or plant medicines, substances. I didn't know it at the time, but really I was just seeking relief from my pain. I was seeking an escape. And I remember watching the Doors movie and being super inspired by the 60s and this man, Jim Morrison, and how he talked about psychedelics. And, anyways, that led me on like a 10-year trajectory of like leaning into this more wild version of myself where I was, yeah, going out a lot, partying, seeking love, seeking attention, seeking connection through drugs, through festivals, etc. And then eventually I found psychedelics. I started working with LSD and mushrooms and different than alcohol or other drugs that you take and that numb the pain, psychedelics actually make you confront the pain, right? They almost enhance what you're feeling in your subconscious and unconscious so that it becomes conscious. And so when I started working with exploring, experimenting, I would say working with, because I wasn't really trained in this whole idea of set and setting. When I started working with these because they were offered to me, I wasn't finding the same relief. And actually, I found the opposite. I was having these awakening experience where I was now seeing and feeling my trauma, my pain, my shame, and didn't know what to do with all of that. And it was actually a really intense period. I also through my own inner guidance, higher self was guided to go to India and study yoga. I had a background in psychology. I studied at UCSD psychology, clinical psych, and was pre-med at one point. But had this like yoga practice in the background. That something when I was around 22 and started traveling for fun was like, I think you've had enough fun now. It's time to go like ground. And maybe this yoga teacher training is a way was a way for me to take a break. So that's kind of how initially I used it as like this way to just recenter myself. And yeah, like I had been doing these psychedelics and not having these pleasant experiences, starting to actually feel more anxiety, feel more fear, and things were I could feel weren't settled inside of me. And so I found yoga. I went to yoga. I went to India, found this yoga teacher training, and started to read about the chakras in chakra psychology and how to heal yourself through energy work, color, light, sound, plants, natural holistic medicines. And yeah, something there like clicked for me. I realized in that training that I didn't want to follow the traditional Western model of medicine and psychology, and that I was inspired by this idea that we could heal through energy. And more than just heal, we could also prevent a lot of disease through these somatic practices and mindfulness, yoga, meditation, etc. And so that was a big turning point for me, and that it really set me on this path to discover more of myself. I went really deep into chakra psychology and learned a lot about the shadow and the light side of how we express ourselves, and how these chakras that are based on the elements and based on different ways of being show up in the collective, as well as these, patterns that we see. And I started to be able to understand why I had attracted this reality into my life. I realized that, I was seeking healing, and I was looking for it in the wrong places, but over time, luckily, I stayed consistent with my practice, and I feel like my higher guides continue to guide me in the right direction. And yeah, 5, 10 years later, I found myself being attracted to plant medicines and psychedelics, like watching a YouTube video with like a professor talking about ayahuasca, and something about ayahuasca was like, I feel like I'm going to try that one day. I wasn't ready yet. I knew that there it's a path that you want to be really respectful of, but it's something called to me about the way that this woman is talking about ayahuasca's potential for healing people psychologically as well as physically. And so at that point, I opened myself to that possibility, and within a few years, it showed up in my life. And yeah, I felt that it was also the psychedelics that allowed for me to heal the trauma that I had experienced from other psychedelics, which was an interesting point. It was like having to go back into the wound to actually recover and reclaim the parts of me that were stuck. And so when I started working with medicine, I got a really broad scope of like not also the light and shadow side of working with psychedelics. I don't think that they're for everybody. I think that it's really important that the set and the setting that you work in, yeah, and the facilitators and what they're bringing, and because I had a really actually bad experience, not bad experience, it was a great experience overall, big picture, but my first ayahuasca experience, I didn't feel the facilitator held me very well, and because I had an experience that wasn't that great, I then was like inspired too to find the real facilitators, or a way to the people that were facilitating this medicine in the way that it should be. And so that's when I decided to go to Peru and find like my real teachers, and really understand the power and potential of ayahuasca.
Wow. That's such a beautiful story. I love the arc of like going into some psychedelics that then created more trauma, and then grounding through the yoga, and then finding ayahuasca. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is because I've experienced ayahuasca 2 times now. And it was after I had had babies. So when I was in the School of Metaphysics for 8 years teaching spirituality, and I gave my whole life to the School of Metaphysics. And then, right when a big group of us left, some of us started going into like plant medicines and things of that nature. I chose to get pregnant. So I wasn't doing any types of medicines like that. And I really never had. And everyone was talking about it. And I just was kind of having a little bit of FOMO, honestly, like just really wanting to try it. And then I went through birth and the shift in identity and this like massive ego death and all of this grief. And then a few years later, I became a doula, and I started witnessing women going through this kind of archetypal shift into motherhood, and watching us all kind of struggle with the same challenges. And there's a lot of isolation and shame around the grief that we feel when everything shifts, because we're supposed to be happy because we have a healthy baby, right? And it's not that way. It actually, the shift into motherhood holds both joy and grief simultaneously. And that's the thing that blows everyone's minds, and that's why it's kind of this weird, odd, eerie feeling sometimes. But with ayahuasca, so here's how my ayahuasca came into my life. So it was my dad actually who came to me because he had been studying mushrooms and so, that type of plant medicine. And he said to me, Leah, I really want to try mushrooms and I want you to be my guide. And I was like, no, that is a hard no. Like I'm your daughter. There's way too much like linked in intricately with our karma and our ancestral healing and our needs. And I said, no. And he kept like insistently, like over several months, like asking me again and again and again, again and again. And I asked him more about what he wanted to experience, and what he described was actually what I'd heard about ayahuasca. And so I said, Dad, why don't you reach out to my friend Emily Ashley and do an ayahuasca journey? So flash forward a few months later, he texts me after his journey and he's like, heck, I know that he's crying. Like there's just so much emotion behind his message. And he was like, I have never experienced such pure bliss and love. I didn't even know that that was real. Like I saw an angel that night. And then he said, what was your experience like? And I was like, Dad, I've never tried it. And so for Christmas, he gifted me an ayahuasca ceremony that year. And I sat in the ceremony, and because I think I have experienced so much birth and worked with so many families, that like I felt like I was already with her in my life, like the spirit of the medicine herself. And it was just this incredible, blissful experience. And, I wonder if you can speak to the difference in psychedelics and why some of them create more trauma, whereas ayahuasca is more of a healing spirit.
Yeah, well, I definitely feel that the container makes all the difference, right? Who's in the space, how the space is set up, and the training that the facilitator has, how well their actual space holding abilities are. Um, because I do believe that all psychedelics, when used correctly, have the potential to bring a lot of healing for the right person. But when they're used recreationally without proper guidance, without proper integration, then when things happen, and yeah, especially in a setting that's already very stimulating and there's so many people, like a festival or a party, at that point, like you're opening yourself up to, yeah, different energies and different experiences that aren't in this like controlled space, that a ceremony with a facilitator that's experienced can bring. And so I would say like the traditional classic set and setting is something that really like impacts the quality of the journey and the intention behind it, of course, um, is going to impact the experience as well. And the medicine is funny in that I will say, like, if you come to it with humility and respect, like she gives that back. And so I do see a lot of people having these really beautiful experiences where, especially because I work with women, so I tend to see, like, for women that are really hard on themselves on their normal day to day, when they come to the medicine, mama's like, you're all good. Like, this is how great it can be. And like fills the woman, like the cup of that woman that comes to ceremony. And women, male, female, can be relative, but if someone comes with this like masculine energy of control, like I'm gonna get this experience because like they're forcing something, that's usually when people get rocked and surprised. And then it can go in other ways. And in my case, I believe that I had the experience that I had because the medicine wanted me to experience ego death in order to walk a certain path, because it was that moment in ceremony for me that inspired me to go find my teachers. Had I had like a different experience, we don't know how that would have turned out, but having this not so good experience as a facilitator already of ceremony and other like cacao ceremonies combo was just what I needed to like get more motivated to find like better teachers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that intention really does mean a lot, and having support through the experience means a lot. I I would say that's similar with birth, like the energy that moves through, if there's a humbleness and a desire to receive, and um, a respect and a reverence, and really not trying to control it, is huge in the birth space. Like, we really, so much of spirit is out of our control. And yes, we have our intentions and we can make our decisions and we can reason and we have free will, but there is a balance that's needed and a breath that's needed, which is why when I work with women too, I come to them with, I pay attention to their bodies, to how they're standing, how they're holding themselves. Are they breathing? Are they skipping past their emotions and disconnected? Or are they settling in to receive the wisdom of the body and the wisdom of birth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like as we walk through life, ceremony is this opportunity for us to experience a new version of ourselves or sharpen our understanding. And I find that like faith is such an important piece. Faith in the medicine, faith in a higher power, faith in oneself, and that trust in the situation that whatever arises is meant to be. And I'm imagining that's so important in birth as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it really is, because there's so much that we just don't know is on the horizon, and that we don't, there's so much unknown. I was talking with someone recently, and they're planning their family, and they're just thinking about, like, what about my income and my career, and they're thinking about, what about my body and my age, and all of these things are happening in the head, right? In the head, and the ego, in an attempt for safety, wants to grasp to what's known and wants to plan. And but truly, you never know the timing, right? Like, you can make choices, like I said, but like for my husband and I was 35 and he was 45, and we decided, well, we don't know, it could take a while, so let's just try it. And we were really blessed, we got pregnant on the first attempt. And then I was like, oh my god, what have we done? I mean, we were engaged and like planning a wedding, and like I wound up getting married 5 months pregnant. So there's so much unknown to surrender to, and I find that true authority comes from being able to trust in what we can't control, and the thing that we can control is trusting in what we can't control. And
Mhm.
I wonder if that's why I had such a blissful ayahuasca experience. Both times were like orgasmic, blissful, like the most beautiful spirit of joy that moved through me. And there was some grieving and some sounds and some emotions that passed first. But I had a really powerful connection to my maternal lineage in both ceremonies, which was just beautiful. And I wonder if you can speak to the spirit of ayahuasca a little bit in terms of the Great Mother.
Yeah. I find that ayahuasca, in some traditions, actually, it's not just feminine. It can also be considered masculine. So again, like when we have a certain intention or belief, that usually is how it mirrors back to us. And I would say that,
Mm.
from this neutral standpoint, like ayahuasca is really a mirror of what's already inside of you. So if you're beautiful heart and soul, service oriented, like she's gonna mirror that back to you as well. And someone that may be, maybe operating from their ego or from some shadow, it's also a potential that that is mirrored back to them through the visions and through the experience that they had. So when we have a really integrated, well integrated like divine mother archetype already within us because of our the spiritual beliefs or just the way that we interact with masculine and feminine and the divine, then ayahuasca can also mirror that back and give us exactly um, what we need.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that for sure. I mean, what was your experience like the first time you tried it?
um, yeah, I was saying, I said it like, so I had a really like not good experience the first time.
Hmm.
And and that was also, this lent itself to the space that I was in the ceremony that I was in. The structure of the ceremony was held in this style of Santo Daime. It wasn't like real Santo Daime, but they style, and they're known for being like doing ceremony with pure silence and some rules, a more masculine structure. And at the
Hmm.
time of that time of my life, I was working on opening my voice. I knew ayahuasca was going to unlock my voice. So I went in with this intention to open my voice. And then when I was in the journey and I drank a lot of medicine and I had a big somatic release, it wasn't met with love and compassion. And I was shamed in the ceremony for having this big expression when I didn't really know what was happening. They said silence, but I like I guess it didn't really register. I mean, also I was like in the experience. And so
Hmm.
that in itself was like there was something there for me for to unpack, and being someone that also was a combo practitioner at the time where I was taking people through somatic journeys where my whole way of holding space is full permission. Like if you want to cry, if you want to scream, like shake, whatever, like that's the kind of containers that I hold in my ceremony. So I just wasn't like I wasn't in aligned the way that they were serving for me. And so now like that is one of the things that I offer at the center. Like we create space where people can really release and feel and be with the medicine without the worry that they're going to be too much, because there's too many spaces in the west or in the modern world where they're holding big containers with lots of people. And yeah, you need some order when you have big groups, but the work that we're doing in the jungle is very intimate. And we're in the dark, and the masters, like, they're not scared. They can handle it. Like, they're not afraid of our expression, can really like midwife and steward whatever experience we need to have.
Yeah, that's so lovely. I had that very similar experience the first time where I was told I was being too loud. Which, I mean, I couldn't help it. Like
Yeah.
it was just, it's like a child, like telling a child to stop crying, right? They're so connected to the flow of everything that it's like they don't have that container to like stop themselves. And yeah, I had this experience of the first thing that came through was actually my trauma as a doula
Mm.
from attending multiple births where things were less than ideal in terms of how my client was treated, and or the outcome turned out differently than what she wanted. And there was a lot of pent up feeling or emotion in her. And then also I realized that I had absorbed quite a bit of trauma from having so many births in such a short amount of time and working so deeply with so many women who are on this healing journey, and just being in that portal with them. What came out was like the cry of the women of the world. Like I remember like just my body kind of moving and then it coming out through my throat, like these giant, loud, like robust sobs. And then someone next to me, it was actually Amy Ray. That's how I met her. That was the first time I ever met her. Um, she said that it was the most beautiful sound she'd ever heard, which was so cool because it was really like the divine feminine that's been ripped from the texts and has been just shunned out and suppressed, was like crying through me. That's how it felt. And it was so beautiful and so blissful. And then what happened after that was just laughter, like this giddy, like insane, like robust laughter. And I just could not stop. And then the whole room started laughing with me. And, this container that we were in was very sacred and very dark. And we couldn't see anything. Right. And it was absolutely magical. But I was told that I was being too loud and that I needed to be quiet. And so I went to leave the room and I was like crawling across the floor because I couldn't stop, right? I was just having this absolutely amazing energy like moving through my whole body. It was kind of like a full body orgasm that all went all the way through my emotional field. And I'm crawling and like touching people's feet and like trying to find the door. Um, but I was so at this point, I mean, I had given birth twice already. I'd been a doula. I've advocated for myself. I'm really embodied at this point. It was like nothing, it wasn't traumatic for someone to be like, shh. I was just like, like giggling and laughing. But I will say one other thing that happened during that first ceremony was my grandmother came to me, my mom's mom, and she came in and she was like, yes, you're doing it. Like you're claiming what I couldn't. And there was like a very strong feeling of that. And I do think about her all the time in my work because the women in my family don't have a connection to their bodies. They kind of lug it around and they deprive it of calories for the sake of being thin, and they make comments about it, and they're judging and criticizing a lot. And that's part of what I'm here to bring and to heal. And so that ayahuasca experience, that first one, just showed me that they were like cheering me on. And I was like, yes, this is amazing.
I love that. Yeah, there's so like I've had so many ceremonies, being the practitioner, being walking this path, the medicine training me around how the medicine can work, that it's been incredible. Like some of the journeys that I have had, for example, one journey, um, I like was my teacher was like, okay, Carla, like you're purging a lot. What's happening? Stop, stop sulking in the past. Like it's time for you to die and be reborn. And so he says that to me before ceremony, and I'm like, okay. And so I go into ceremony not knowing what's going to happen. I have my intentions to heal my heart. And yeah, lo and behold, I had this like archetypal ceremony of this death. And interestingly enough, when I was on this retreat, Dieta in Peru, I was wanting to heal my immune system. And I wasn't breastfed that much when I was born. It was very little. And so somehow this idea came to me, and I prayed to ayahuasca for ayahuasca to become like mother's milk. Like I was like,
Mm.
I feel that if I drink this ayahuasca and you can make me feel like what it would have felt like to have been breastfed and, to have had all of those antibodies in my body, like this will shift something. So it was like a psycho magic ritual that I kind of created, not knowing that I was creating it. And in that ceremony, I did get to witness myself after a big purge, like birth myself. So I felt myself pushing my baby's version of me out of me. And I saw my baby self crawl up my belly to my breast and be breastfed. And it was this very somatic experience that was like me and my baby at the same time. And yeah, like these are the kinds of psychedelic experiences we can have in this more multidimensional space.
Wow. That is so I've actually had dreams like that where I've birthed a baby and I felt the entire thing. And it's almost like you feel it as the baby coming out, and you also feel it as the mother as the baby's coming out. Is that how it felt for you? Like you felt both from each perspective?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm,
Wow.
like it changed something inside of me, like repatterned my neuroscience around like, you know, now having had more of that experience that I deep down I really wanted, which was to be held in this way. And it was something that kept coming, it came up a couple times in my psychedelic journeys around this desire of like being fed by the mother. And then once I had that experience, it began to integrate itself more. And then yeah, throughout my years working with the medicine has had me. I'm not a mother yet. I desire to be one, and it's been a journey of like finding the right partner. I was in a partnership for a few years with someone that was very much a potential, um, and that ended a couple years ago. But throughout that relationship, I was talking with the medicine, asking about, like things like that you wouldn't even think of, like where should the baby be born, like what city, what place. And the it became a conversation with ayahuasca around what kind of child I wanted to birth, what kind of consciousness I wanted to be around. And she just started to really train me and like show me what was in my highest and what isn't. And and this conversation, still continues with the medicine as well. Now even I feel my babies coming in really strongly more than ever, because now they're with me in ceremony. Now I'm getting to do work with them, supporting me. And they say when you go to the jungle and you diet, which a diet is a plant study where you ingest a certain master plant and you have a restricted food diet and you really focus on just the connection with this master plant. They say once you diet or you become a dietero, the spirit of the plant is actually born through your babies. So it's very common for women to be more fertile, to get pregnant after dieta, because the spirit of the plant wants to be born through, yeah, this vessel. And so now, because I have undergone these dietas, like almost for 5 6 months of them, and I'm working very intimately with these Shipibo maestros, like they're like they see my baby, I see my baby, they're like it's gonna happen very soon. Your baby's in the space, your baby's a shaman, like it's the medicine is the baby, like actually. And they keep telling me like you are the medicine and you're maestra, but watch when you get pregnant, it's like that baby is actually the maestro. And my teacher that I work the two teachers that I work with are mother and son, and it was like that for them. Like he was born a shaman from a young age, already talking to plants, having this connection with the spirit realm, with the plant realm, that was different than his siblings. And yeah, they've been sharing with me too, because of my connection with the plants and my devotion, that my child is also a shaman in training. And so, like, in these traditions that work with ayahuasca, it's not uncommon to still drink medicine when they're pregnant, and for ayahuasca to be woven into the whole pregnancy experience.
Wow. Oh my gosh. And I totally believe that too. I believe that our spirit babies are kind of hanging out and they're watching and they're waiting and they're, planning their their entrance at the right time. I didn't know that about dieta. Like I kind of had an understanding that you can consciously choose to bring the energy of that plant through your baby. That's what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because once you do a dieta, it's like you merge with the spirit of the plant. You come into a union with that plant.
Mhm.
And that plant too is also like filtering out certain relationships, people in your life. Because it's the plant has its own archetypal energy and spirit. And so there's certain energies that are going to support it and some not. And so it's either going to bring your relationship closer, it's gonna break it up. and
Right.
and yeah, when you're like a facilitator, a maestro in training, and you have a child, at that point it's the medicine itself being reborn through you.
Yeah, that's mind blowing. I mean, I've definitely experienced cacao and the heart opening nature of cacao. What are some other plants that people would intentionally receive during like a pregnancy or before a pregnancy?
Well, one that I really recommend before pregnancy, you wouldn't work with it during pregnancy, is combo. And combo is a huge purgative. It's another It's a frog medicine. It comes from the secretions of the frog, and the secretions themselves are very medicinal. There's all these bioactive peptides, and that increase the immune system, that help the body detox, and it creates this contraction in the body. So one of the peptides in combo makes the smooth muscles in the body contract, all of them, the
Mm.
organs, everything. And so when through those contractions, they expel the toxins and the gunk that the body is releasing in this ceremony. It's 30 minutes long and it's very intense, very uncomfortable, where the intention is to cleanse. We want you to purge. There's no psychedelic effect. It's more physical, somatic. But then after those 30 minutes, it's done. And usually by the next day, after some rest and some food, you feel great. And this is the one that I feel actually is also very sensitive, very similar to pregnancy, because I find like my female clients do so much better than my male clients. And it comes back to this aspect of control.
Yeah.
The men show up and they don't know how to let go and release, and they're trying to fight this discomfort when the only way through is actually to lean into the discomfort and to work with this opportunity to purge and release, and just to like really embody that fully. And to the point where like the more easily you lean into the surrender and the opening, the quicker the journey is. If you fight it, it could be longer. It's going to be more uncomfortable. And so I've always noticed a difference between my female clients and my male clients. And it comes back to this wanting to control, and yet it's one of these experiences that might be really powerful also for a man to experience, to know like the level of sacrifice and physical exertion that a pregnancy would take. And this isn't medicine related, but it's kind of cool too to talk about. In the traditional sun dance, which is the a Native American ritual where men fast for 4 days and they dance in the sun around this
Mm.
tree in a ceremonial circle space. At the end of it, they actually will stick like a bamboo stick through their skin and offer a blood sacrifice,
Mhm.
and hang from the tree. Or like hang buffalo skulls and like walk around and dance with these buffalo skulls. And the reason why they offer this blood sacrifice, and there is a tearing of the skin, is so that they can feel what the woman feels like when she gives birth. That's their way of shedding or offering blood. And that's meant to like bring balance to the earth in this way. It's like it's not just women experiencing this, or it's not just war. It's like they're choosing to offer in this way.
Wow. That's brilliant. I love that so much. Not from like a revenge standpoint, no, but just from a consciousness standpoint of like, I would imagine that the women in that culture feel seen,
Yeah.
like because it is, and what you're describing with the masculine wanting to control, like that's, I see women do that in birth too, where it's like, I kind of want to like gently give them a little like of a like shake them open, right? Like there needs to be an openness and a surrender and a relaxed state. It's very similar to receiving the plant medicine. It's like birth is its own medicine.
Mhm.
It's beautiful. And I think the more that people can practice, and when earlier this morning we talked about pain as the portal to bliss, and I talked about emotional pain and grief, and how the more we can practice making space for those feelings, the, I guess, quote, easier. I don't really want to say easier, but maybe the more fluid the birth will be and the more peaceful the birth will be, because we've created the space in our body through the expression of those emotions to receive this powerful energy so that it dissipates through the entire system instead of just being stuck in one spot where it's just like really intense. Uh, I imagine ayahuasca being that way. Like I can correlate those two things.
Yeah, something that I share a lot with my clients and people that come to sit in our ceremonies. There's like there's two ways with the work with the medicine, and it's a dance always of receiving and giving, or um, like letting the dragon take you, or you riding the dragon. And I find that when women are, and people, I work mostly with women, but when people like can tap into their creativity and alchemize whatever it is they're feeling, that's actually when they start to really like channel and direct the force of the medicine rather than being taken over it. And so, song, humming,
Mm.
being in the expression of whatever is coming up is how actually the medicine then relax tones down. And so, that's why, the space and the like again the set and the setting is so important, where that the participant has this freedom and this this permission to work with what's there, that energy, and alchemize it however is necessary.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that about the voice. Can you speak more to the voice and vocal? I mean, you said alchemy, but how the voice plays a role here?
Yeah, well, we've heard, many of us have heard about sound healing, and we know that bowls have different tones, and the different frequencies are connected to the light spectrum, as well as the sound spectrum, the chords, the notes, as well as our body. Each chakra has a different color and a different note that is associated with. And so when the teachers sing, or when we sing, these certain notes are vibrating with what's inside of our somatic body and energy and our nervous system. And so when it comes to being sung to, yeah, the maestros are singing these tones, and it's going to go to where that vibrates. And for example, my maestra, who's an elder, she sings in a very low guttural or very high. And so I find her really working in this the roots of our body, or our energy
Mm.
body, our system, like cleaning out the womb, like very guttural, very low, and or very high, like helping us open the crown chakra and connect our branches to our higher self. And when we sing for ourselves, we become the bull. And so a lot of the work that I do in my integration coaching and my somatic business coaching is feeling into where we feeling tightness and resistance, and liberating that tightness, that tension through sound. And so whatever sound comes to mind, like letting the soul and the body speak through vibration. And sound is like such powerful medicine. For women, especially when we are on that journey of learning how to give ourselves more permission to express, to show up, to speak for ourselves, and also to heal ourselves.
Yeah. Wow. I never thought of it like healing this certain area of the body with the vibration of the sound. I know that sound plays a huge role, and it's something I definitely incorporate into all of my teachings and my interactions with my clients. But thinking of it as sending the sound to an area for healing, that's amazing. What a powerful visualization.
Yeah, and like, releasing stored energy through sound. Like it doesn't have to be pretty. Like we sing or we sound to feel, not to be anything in particular. And yeah, it's incredible. It's been I'm still, unraveling all of this, but it's one of the biggest factors to full liberation, full freedom, when we allow for that full range of our expression to come out.
So beautiful.
And sound too, actually, when you were speaking, it's like it's not, it doesn't have to be logical. So it's a way for our body to express and move energy without getting in too much into the mind and what it means. It's a way for us to just be in that primal body, like dogs, or you see animals like shake, howl, etc., when they need to move energy.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's just like a different part of the brain. It doesn't have to be a word to it that you have to think about. It's just a sound.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
so beautiful. Thank you so much, Carla. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that, like I when it comes to the medicine work, when it comes to life, humility goes a long way, and surrendering to the moment, surrendering to a higher power, and really like being able to like lay down this need to have it all figured out goes so far. And it's a way for us to really receive more of what God, Great Spirit, wants us to have. And so when in doubt, like I feel wherever you're at, and especially in ceremony, like it's so good and helpful to be in dialogue with Creator and just speak, ask for help, turn it down, turn it up. Like we have so much power with our intention, how we communicate with our reality and with source. So yeah, that's my invitation for people. It's just to have a dialogue with this higher power and to surrender. And if that higher power shows up in the form of ayahuasca or
Mm.
birth, to lean into that intimate conversation that's happening.
So beautiful. I love that so much.
Mhm.
So what services do you offer and how can people find you?
Yeah, so the two primary ways that people can work with me, um, are definitely coming to Peru, and when I'm in the United States, to one of my retreats to work with the medicines of ayahuasca and other medicines from the jungle. And then the other way is to work with me online. I offer integration coaching as well as marketing, branding coaching specifically for embodiment facilitators. I have a method where we work with the body to awaken the most authentic version of ourselves, as I shared with sound and with other mindset, subconscious reprogramming systems, and then just and also practical tools. And this is my newest baby in that, yeah, the medicine guided me to do this work because I found with a lot of my potential clients this money blockage showing up, like wanting to come to these ceremonies and do this work, and then having not enough funds to make it work. So it's also like an extension of the healing work to help my community get to the retreat center, get to be able to do these more deep experiences through, honing in their business skills and bringing in more resources. And I know for me, you know, the fact that I'm planning pregnancy within the next couple years, also having, if I don't want to go to ceremony, I have another way to work as well. So it's all
Yeah.
connected.
Oh, I love that so much. And what's your Instagram handle?
Carla with a C, Carla, Carla Somatica, Somaticka.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, I really appreciate you being here. I love this mission. I love all things related to birth and identity shifting and spiritual self. And I'm really just honored to get to be with you today. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you for having me. And thank you to
Yes,
all those that,
absolutely.
connected with this message today.
Yeah, and thanks, Chelsea. I saw Chelsea right before we go. She said, I'm still breastfeeding my 3-year, almost 4-year old. Nice to hear. It's worth it. Oh my gosh, yes, for sure. And then she got a tattoo in Peru after my medicine experiences of a sun and moon having my flower child. That sounds amazing. This is one of the reasons I really like dream interpretation too, because there are some really amazing, like transcendent states you can reach in your sleep. So I do a lot of internal dialogue and self work through understanding dreams, and it's blissful.
Mm.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow at 10. We're going to talk about the masculine and feminine energies of birth at 10. And then at 1, we're going to have Chelsea Barbine on, and she's going to be speaking to what to expect postpartum and really educating us on all of the things that our culture has forgotten to tell us. So we'll see you then. Thanks again.